leaky. And that's essentially, for practical intents and purposes, it's an explosion because you're going to leak out. Everything is going to get what we call septic. Basically, your whole abdominal cavity will then become infected. And in about, when that kind of thing happens, the death rate of untreated appendicitis is about 50%.
So basically, the appendix becomes inflamed, it starts leaking, and then you've got nasty stuff that leads to a body-wide infection.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, and that a 50% death rate. So when we, one of the really fun things that we discovered was, Randy Bollinger and I, and every day he was taking out appendices. I was the immunologist working in the lab, right? And one day he just said, hey, because we already knew that the immune system was supporting bacteria. He said, hey, I bet I know what causes, or he said, I know what the appendix is for. And immediately I knew. He didn't have to say it because it was so obvious when somebody said it. But the bottom line is, yeah, we know what it does. And there's some really beautiful data coming out of Europe that tells us, yeah, this is what it does. But the main thing when I talk about the appendix is, please, just because we know what your appendix does, if you get appendicitis, go see your doctor. If they need to take it out, go let them take it out. We know why it gets inflamed. A totally separate set of issues, which you're asking me about now. But go ahead and get it taken out if it gets inflamed so you don't die. That would be, really, really unfortunate for our work to lead to somebody's death because they didn't want to get their appendix taken out. Mm-hmm. So back to your question, why does it get inflamed, right? So a guy named David Barker in 1988, he's an epidemiologist in Britain, and he came up with the term hygiene hypothesis, that we're so clean that our immune system becomes overreactive. And it's sort of, you pointed it out, right? There's a lot of immune tissue there. There's a lot of immune tissue throughout the gut. So you can get, inflammatory bowel disease as well, different types as well. But the appendix is one of those areas where, and basically
it's an internal body surface. So, you would imagine that there has to be a lot of immune system surveillance there because this is the interface between us and, the rest of the world.
Absolutely. It's sort of like our skin, except it's more bacteria laden than our skin. I mean, our skin has a lot of bacteria, but it's sort of limited in diversity compared to the gut.
Okay, so there's a lot of bacteria down there. There's a lot of immune system concentrated at the appendix. And okay, so what is it doing?
Well, so the big breakthrough that we had, it was that I figured out, it was an epiphany. We were working on a field called xenotransplantation, a cross-species transplantation. And we figured out, okay, these bacteria don't seem to be trying to escape or avoid the immune system. Like pathogens will tend to try to mimic human biology. They'll tend to not express things what the human immune system easily recognizes. Whereas our gut bacteria, they were expressing the same thing generation after generation, so much so that what we call natural antibodies that we all have. So and blood group antibodies is classical. If you're blood group A, you'll have blood group B antibodies. And if you're blood group O, you'll have A and B antibodies. And there's other antibodies that even blood group A, B people have that are in a related class. And that's what we were studying because we were interested in antibodies that cross-react between species. So bottom line is these bacteria were not trying to avoid the immune system at all. They were, in fact, expressing these molecules even more. So what we figured out was that the immune system was supporting the bacteria. The bacteria were expressing receptors, and other people did some beautiful work showing that your immune system is feeding. We didn't really look at the feeding part.